There are several different ways that you can implement pagination. So how we're going to do it is the simple way. We're just going to have a previous and a next button. And so if there's more pages, you can click on next, or you can go back to a previous page, clicking on previous. And to implement this, we are going to create a paginated list class. Basically, it's going to filter the data on the server. So it's just going to retrieve the rows that it needs to display on a particular page. And in order to do this, we're going to be using the skip and take statements. They are going to be used to filter the data on the server. And our first step is going to be to create a paginated list class. And if you look through here, you can see that we have a couple properties, the page index and the total pages. Then we have a little constructor here. It's receiving items, a count, an index, and the page size. It's figuring out the total number of pages based on the size. There are a couple Booleans that determine whether or not there is a previous or a next page. And then we have this little create. Well, create async really method that retrieves a count of the pages. And this is where it is kind of skipping over the pages that we aren't going to be displaying right now. And it's going to retrieve only the rows in the particular page that we are going to be looking at. Okay, and then of course, this is our paginated list class that we are creating. So again, create async is a method. It takes the page size, the page number, and it applies the skip and take statements. So to list async, we are using, it's only going to be retrieving the rows that we need for the current page. Has next page and has previous are basically either on or off so that we know if we need to enable or disable our previous and next buttons. And the count async method returns the number of elements in a particular sequence. And so in our case, it's the number of rows that we have. Now, when we incorporate all of this, we are going to need to add a using statement for Microsoft Entity Framework Core. That'll be at the top of our page. And after we add the class, then we can modify the controller. To add paging to the controller, we have to adjust the parameter list. So now we are going to be using the current filter because that will make the filter persistent. And we're also going to be adding a parameter for the page number, which may or may not exist. Okay, if we haven't, the first time we go to the index, there isn't going to be a page number. Or if we implement a search, there isn't going to be a page number on the very first page of those search results. So that may or may not be populated. You'll notice that we have a view data dictionary item for the sort order, so that can persist as well as the current filter. If our search string is not null, that means we have a new search, and the page number is going to be 1. Otherwise, the search string is going to be set to the filter that is currently being applied. So that filter may be nothing, or there may be some text that was entered. Then we retrieve everything. We check our search string. If there's something there, we filter based on that, and we do the sorting. Then down here, page size. So what it's referring to is the number of rows that you want to display on the page. So we don't have a lot of sample data, so that is why the page size is so small. So the more data we have, the larger that could be. So if I had like 30 rows of data, I may set that to 10. Okay, so ours is a small number so that we can actually see multiple pages. Then we're returning the view. So you can see that we are passing along our paginated list. We've got create async as no tracking, and then we're either sending them a page number of 1 or whatever the page size is. So what the code is doing, the first time it's displayed, the user hasn't selected any kind of paging or sorting or anything. All parameters are null. So it just goes directly to the view. In the view, if they click the previous or next button, the page number variable is going to contain the page number to display. And that is going to get passed as a parameter. The current sort view data property, as I mentioned, keeps track of the current sort order so that we can keep that order in multiple pages. The current filter view data property is keeping track of the current filter so that that also remains in effect for multiple pages. The create async method is going to convert the employee query into a single page of employees in a collection that supports paging. As no tracking basically tells Entity Framework not to do any additional processing or storage of the entities that are returned. Then this single page is passed to the view. And again, page number is coming from the view. If it's not set, it becomes a 1. Otherwise, it's whatever the view said the page number is. And then the page size with how many rows to display is passed along to the view. So in the view itself, there's several changes that we're going to make. We do need to pull in our page list object for the model instead of a list object. So here we've got old code. This is going to be our new code. Then if you're using strongly typed label helpers, that is going to be a problem because we are not creating basically links for sorting and filtering for all of the columns. We're only doing it for the ones that we want to sort or filter by. So we have to change the strongly typed label helper to a loosely typed label helper, okay? Because now we're using a different model. So we need to change it basically to HTML display name, or you can just key in first name. Either one of them will work. Since it's better to use the helpers, I decided to keep them in, but first name, department, benefit category could have been directly entered into the cells for the headings. Then you'll notice that in addition to having a route for the sort order parameter, we add one for the current filter as well. And we've already kind of done this by, we need to initialize the search string with the value set to the view data current filter. Okay, so we already did that, but I just want to point out that if for some reason you have the value equal to blank, you do need to change this because that will make the filter persist. At the bottom of the page, this is where all of the code for the buttons go. And so you can see that we've got, we're checking the has previous and has next page, the Booleans that are in the class. And we are either setting them to disabled or not. Okay, and then for each button, we're actually using whether they are disabled or not. Okay, so that will either make them boldface where you can click on them or make them dimmed. And then the rest of it, I think, is pretty self-explanatory. So this is, our buttons are actually links. So we have to have the route information there for the sort order, the page number, and the current filter. Okay, so if we're going to go to the previous page, we subtract 1. If we're going to go to the next page, we add 1. And that's where it's getting the page number from. Okay, so I believe this is a little simpler than what they show you in chapter 13 of the book. Okay, and instead of listing out individual pages, you get previous and next, which is perfectly acceptable.